Hello Year 5 and welcome to another maths lesson. Today we are going to be looking at multiplying 3 digits by 2 digits by continuing our work with long multiplication, just increasing the amount of digits we are using. So as per usual we have a warm-up question or two, so if you could pause the video and have a go at these two questions here, and then we'll have a look at the answers and we can see if we got them correct or if we need to check our working. So pause the video and have a go at those two. Okay, let's see what answers we should get. So 859 times 3 and 965 times 8. So the first answer should be 2,577. And the second answer should be 7,720. Okay, so before I move on to the next slide, just have a quick look at our words of the day. They are still times tables because they are so important when we are working through these. I'll think about that for the rest of the week, see if there's anything we can add in there. And then our learning intention will be in the top right. Should be on the top right on every single slide where there's questions on it. Okay, so let's move on to our next warm-up activity. So this is the memory game. We did some of these last week, so we're working on our working memory to improve the amount of things, increase the amount of things we can retain in our heads, which will in turn help with our mathematical memory. So I'm going to show you a picture with pictures within it for a minute. And then I'm going to take it away for a minute, and during that second minute you need to write down as many things as you can remember from those pictures. So I'm going to start my timer now. So you've got a minute to look at those pictures, see what you can pick out. So I'll just tell you what a couple of them are because it's not too clear. So we have a lantern here. Bronze coin, silver coin, this is the beaker, scientific beaker, flower, cat, shell, passport, watering can, swirl, baseball glove, 20 seconds left. 10 seconds left. 5, 2, 1, 0. Right, so you have a minute to see how many of those things you can remember, and I'll give you a couple of clues whilst you're writing those down. So was there any living things in there? Were there any sport-related things? Was there any money? Could you use any of them to light your way? Let's see how many of those things you can get down on your bit of paper. Just over 10 seconds left. 10 seconds now. Okay, time's up. Let's have a look at those things again, see how many you've got. So did you get the lantern, the coins, the beaker, the swirl, the hat, the glasses, the watering can, the shell, the pineapple? How many of those did you get? So there's 15 altogether, so not quite as many as we've done before, but there were a few complicated items in there to remember. So did that make it easier? Because you had to really think hard about those, so hard to forget, or did it make it more difficult that you had to remember things that you weren't quite sure what they were to begin with? We'll do another one of those later on in the week. Okay, so let's move on to our last warm-up section. So using what we've worked on before, So pause the video and see if you can work out the answer to those 4 questions. Right, let's go through those 4. So 12 times 4 or 4 times 12, we know that from our 4 times table. Is the last one we tend to learn in our 4 times table, and 4 times 12 is 48. You might notice some similarities here. So 12 times 4 is there, plus you times that 4 by 10 here. So this answer should be 10 times bigger. So 12 times 4, if you times that by 10, you get 12 times 40. So 48 times 10. Everything moves one place value column to the left, the 10s to the hundreds, the 1s to the 10s, and you get 480. So the next one is 206 times 3. 3 lots of 206, so you could do this different way. You could do 3 times 200 plus 3 times 6, add them together. What do you get? You could use the method that we worked on yesterday, just expand it a little bit. You should get 618, because 3 times 200 is 600, 3 times 6 is 18, add them together, 618. See if you can notice any similarities between question 3 and 4. These are the same, 206 is exactly the same. 3 and 300, 300 is 100 times larger than 3, which means our answer should be 100 times bigger. If you times something by 100, it moves 2 place value columns, so it's 100, to the left. So the 1s to the hundreds, the 10s to the thousands, the hundreds to the 10,000s, you will end up with 61,800. So well done if you got those answers. Okay, let's move on to our learning for today. So we're looking at 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication. So the question we have here is 132 times 23. So you could pause the video and have a go at that yourself and see if you get the same answer that we do, or you could just listen to the video and see what we get at the end. So 132 times 23. So the first step we're doing is timesing our ones. So we're doing 132 times 3. So we're going to do 3 times 2 first. 2 times 3 is 6. Next, we have to do 3 times 30, or 3 times 3 tens. 3 lots of 3 tens is 9 tens, and 9 tens is 90. Then we have 3 times 100, or 100 times 3, which is 300. So we've done our ones. Tell yourself what you need to do next. Okay, so we need to look at our tens columns now, tens column now. So we are now doing 132 times 20. Okay, so we're going to put our placeholder in here because we're not doing anything more with the ones. If you're timesing something by 10, you're not going to end up with anything in the ones. So we're going to put our placeholder in as soon as we start multiplying by our tens. So this is really important that you remember that. It makes our questions a little bit easier. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is 2 tens times 2. 2 tens times 2 is 4 tens, which is 40. The next thing we are doing is 2 tens times 3 tens. So 2 times 3 is 6 times 10 is 60 times 10 is 600. Another way of thinking of that, because once you move across to that column, it becomes a little bit tricky. You'll notice that the tens are full, and you can do 3 times 2. The answer is 6, so go to the next one over there once we're into this one. We'll put the 0 as our placeholder. I would think of this as my ones now. This is my tens, so it just moves it over. If you imagine this is your ones, that's one way you can think of it. Could be classed as cheating, but it does get the right answer. So 3 times 2 is 6. Slightly different way of thinking of it. The last question we have is 2 tens times 100, which is 2,000, or I can think of it as 2 times 1 is 2. then tell yourself what you need to do. Here's a big clue with this symbol. We do need to add, so we're going to go back to our place value names here, to our ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. We're going to do 6, add 0, which is 6, 90, add 40, which is 130, or 9 tens, add 4 tens is 13 tens. So you exchange 10 of your tens to make 100. You put your 3 tens in, or your 30 stays in your tens, and your 100 goes across to your hundreds. Then we need to do our hundreds. 300 plus 600 is 900, plus 100 is 1,000. So we exchange our 10 hundreds for 1,000. We don't have any hundreds left. Then all we need to do is 2,000, add 1,000 is 3,000. So the answer for 132 times 23 is 3,036. Okay, let's have a look at another question. We have 326 times 32. So once again, if you want to pause the video and have a go at that one, write down all you're working out. That might be a really nice idea. And then see if you get exactly the same answer as we do, or if you made a little error in your calculation. So let's go through this. So what do we need to do first? We need to do our ones column. So we're going to do 326 times 2 first, before we then go on to do 326 times 30. But let's just concentrate on the ones for now. So the first thing we need to do is 2 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12. So we have our 10 ones exchanged into the tens column because it's worth 1 10. Remember, the maximum digit you can have in a place value column is 9. So that's what we have to exchange over. And then we've got our 2 ones. Then we have 2 times 2 tens. So 2 lots of 2 tens, which is 4 tens, or 40. And then you have to add 10. So 40 add 10 is 50. Then we have 2 times 300, 2 lots of 300, which is 600. So we've done 326 times 2. The answer for that is 602. Tell yourself what you need to do next. Right, so we're moving on to our tens column. So we need to put our placeholder into our ones column before we move on to 3 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18, so we put our 8 in, and we exchange our 1 over, because the maximum you can have in a place value column is 9. So exchange 10 of those over 1 into the hundreds column. Then we are doing 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. The next one we have is 3 times 3, which we know is 9. So it goes straight into that column, is our thousands column. So you notice that time I didn't talk about place value columns whilst multiplying by the tens, because I wanted to show you that it can be a little bit easier if you just put that placeholder in. Just think of it as 3 times 6, 3 times 2, 3 times 3. Once you remember that placeholder, becomes quite a lot more simple. But we did discuss earlier why we do actually use that place value holder when we're not cheating. Okay, so what do we need to do now? Well, so we need to add those numbers together. So we have 2 times 0. Sorry, I'm saying 2 times 0. It's clearly an add symbol. Poor observational skills. 2 add 0 is 2. 5 tens add 8 tens is 13 tens, which is 130. So we exchange 100 over, put our 30 in. 700 plus 600, which is 1,300, plus 100, which is 1,400. So we need to exchange our 1,000 over, put our 400 in. Then we have 9,000, add 1,000 is 10,000. So the answer to 326 times 32 is 10,432. Okay, so this is a great opportunity for you to pause the video and have a go at questions 1 to 4 on the worksheet. So if you want to do that now, then fantastic. If not, you can continue listening to my dulcet tones to the video, and you can complete the worksheet at the end. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next few questions. Okay, so Dora, Alex and Teddy have worked out 248 times 21. Dora says the answer is 2,978. Alex says the answer is 5,208. And Teddy says the answer is 7,688. How can we use estimating to help us check who is correct? So we have the question 248 times 21. So think any numbers close to that you could change that to see who's most likely to be correct. So 248 is really close to 250, and 20 is really close. Sorry, 21 is really close to 20. So instead of doing 248 times 21, if we wanted to get an estimate, so something really close to the answer to figure out if Dora, Alex or Teddy are correct, we could just make those numbers into something a little bit easier for us to work out. So if we do 250 times 20, we could make it even more simple, 25 times 2, which is 50. So what we did there was we got rid of those two. If we get rid of our 2 zeros there, we're going to have to put them back on at the end, but we've made it easier. And now we know we're going to have to times it by 100. So we've got our 2 zeros off, we put them back on. And we do 50 times 100, which is 5,000. Or you could have just done 250 times 20, or 250 times 2, which is 500, times 10 is 5,000. So if we use estimation, we get to 5,000. So using that number, who do you think is correct? Dora, Alex, or Teddy? So it's Alex, because 5,000 is really close to 5,208. It's pretty far away from 2,978 and 7,688. So that's how we can use estimation, by changing the numbers slightly so they're easier to calculate. Okay, so we're going to estimate here, estimate each side of the equation and write. So we got our symbols, so more than, less than symbols, or equal to complete the statement. So we have 181 times 24 and 112 times 63. So what symbol do you think goes in there? So you can pause the video, have a go at estimating them and deciding which side is bigger. Right, let's have a look. So to make it simpler, we've changed 181 to 200. We're going to change 24 to 20, which is 4,000, because 200 times 2 is 400, times 10 is 4,000. And what do you think we're going to change the other side to? So 112, we'll change that to 100. 63, we're going to change to 60. And then we've got 100 times 60. Which is 6,000, because 100 times 6 is 600, times 10 is 6,000. So the right side is bigger than the left side. So once again, we can see here using estimation, so changing those numbers slightly, so they usually end up being numbers in the 10 times table, because they're easier to multiply. So changing them both slightly, we can work out which ones are going to be bigger, which ones are going to be smaller. Okay, we've got another different type of question here. Mo orders muffins for a party. He orders 12 of box A, 20 of box B, and 14 of box C. How many muffins does Mo order? So you could pause the video here and have a little think about how you think you're going to work that out. Okay, so if you've got 12 of box A, you've got 12 lots of 1, which is 12. So box A is quite simple because you just got 12 lots of 1. And you see the pictures, it shows you how many is in each. So we've got 1 in A, we've got 10 in B, and we have 12 in C. So that was a simple 1-digit multiplication. Here we're going to have 20 times 10, and here we're going to have 14 times 12. So 20 times 10. You know that 20 lots of 10 is 200, or if you want to just a quick recap, So we have 20. If we're timesing it by 10, we know everything moves over 1 to the left, because by moving it over 1 to the left, you make it 10 times bigger. Our 2 moves to our hundreds. Then we put in our placeholders to show there's nothing in those columns. So 20 times 10 is 200. Okay, last one. It's 14 lots of C. If we count how many in C, we said there's 12, so we've got 14 lots of 12. 14 times 2 is 28, so we're partitioning it here into our 2s and our 10s, so we can do 14 times 2 plus 14 times 10. 14 times 2 is 28. 14 times 10 is 140. What do we do with those? We add them together, we get 168. I'm just going to rub these out because I think I've done it, so I need this area. So rub those out, get my pen back. Okay, so what do we do now with those 3? Because we need how many muffins do they order. So it's going to be a total. What do we do with these 3 numbers? You add them together, so 200 plus 168 plus 12. So 168 plus 12 is 180, plus 200 is 380. So not the most complicated of questions individually. It's just a case of reading the question carefully and making sure you calculate it to the end. So I know quite a few people I've worked with in the past would stop after they've done this bit, done all the hard work, and then they've just forgotten that last little bit. Just make sure you read those questions carefully. Okay, so an extension of that question, how many muffins does Mo order? 380. Each muffin costs 24p. How much does Mo spend on muffins? So this is where we're moving on to using our 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication. So we have 380 times 24. So I'd pause the video here, have a go at that question, and see if you get the same answer as me when I go through it in a second. Okay, so 380 times 24. The first thing we do is the ones column. So we have 380 times 4. 4 times 0 is 0, because anything times 0 is 0. Then we have 4 times 8 tens, or 4 times 80, which is 32 tens, or 320. So our 300s go over to the hundreds column, and our 2 tens stay in our tens column. Then we have 4 times 3 hundreds, which gives us 12 hundreds, plus our 3 hundreds here is 15 hundreds. So for 380 times 4, we get 1,520. We've done the ones now, so now we need to do 380 times 20. So we've got our placeholder in there. We're going to do 2 times 0. 2 lots of 0 is 0. 2 times 8, we've got 16, so we put our exchange of 1 across, we put our 6 in, and then we do 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7, and then we add those together. So that's one way of doing it. I'm just going to go through that one again using correct place value columns if you want to think of it a different way. So I'm going to put my placeholder in, then I've got 20 times 0. 20 times 0, which is 0. Anything times 0, 0. We have 20 times 80, so 2 times 8 is 16, times 10 is 160, times it by 10 again is 1,600. So the 1,000 goes across, the 600 goes in. Then we have 20 times 300, so 2 times 300 is 600, times it by 10 is 6,000. Add that to the 1, get 7,000. So exactly the same answer, just thinking about it in a slightly different way. You might like to do it that way, or you might like to put your placeholder in and then do 2 times 0, 2 times 8, 2 times 3. Then we need to add these together. So 0 add 0 is 0. 2 tens add no tens is 2 tens. 500 add 600 is 1,100. 1,000 add 7,000 is 8,000, add 1,000 is 9,000. So how much does she spend altogether? So we've got 9,120 pennies. Remembering there's 100 pennies in a pound. So divide that by 100. Let's represent this on our place value columns. If you're dividing by 100, we move 2 place value columns to the right. So we multiply to the left, dividing to the right. So we're going to move 2 place value columns to the right. And if you do that, you work out that it's spent £91.20 on muffins. That is an awful lot of muffins. I'm not sure if that sounds good or horrific. I think you get very ill if you ate that many muffins, although I suppose sharing is always an option. Maybe I should have thought that first before I thought of eating them all myself. Okay, so that's the answer there. Okay, we are looking at multiplying 3 digits by 2 digits. Your activity has been set for you on Teams or Tapestry. Really looking forward to seeing how you get on with that. Just remember to read the questions carefully before you attempt them, and then check back through your working. Make sure you use that placeholder when you get to multiplying your tens column. Thank you once again for listening, and I'll speak to you all soon.